What is Ninja Warrior? Who is Ninja Warrior? Who am I looking at? I don't know. This is so weird. I'm gonna try to make weird jokes every now and then just to make it less awkward, because I'm talking to a camera in my room with nobody else, and it's strange because I think my parents can hear me and I was just so cringy. But yeah, so what I want to share with y'all is my entire Ninja Warrior experience. So from someone who grew up watching the show, and then as of a couple months ago actually competed on it. The episode that I competed on aired a couple days ago, and we got to watch it. It was super cool, but unfortunately I did not make the final cut, and ooh, that stings to say it. It just stings my heart. So I just want to kind of go into everything that I learned from it, and kind of what it was like coming back from Ninja Warrior, and not being able to tell anybody anything about it, and how it was a big hit to my pride, especially me being a very outgoing guy and having a lot of people that I know look up to me, especially on the younger side. It definitely affected me a lot, and I had to kind of keep a happy face on for a while. But yeah, I guess I'll start first. I know y'all already saw my previous YouTube videos where I did get the call to be accepted. It was super cool, and let me tell you guys, if you think you want to try to get on Ninja Warrior, you better have everything planned and expecting to get on. Like, don't submit a video and then just kind of wait till they call you. Like, you need to have stuff ready to go, because the amount of work that went into it was insane. There's so many rules, and there's so many guidelines that you have to follow. It's like 100-page legal contract that you have to go through very carefully. I had to go through all of the process of trying to make t-shirts, trying to find my group of people that could come. That was actually really hard. We were still figuring that out all the way up until the last days, because it's so hard to find enough people, because the more people you have, the better chances to air on TV. And let me tell you, it was incredibly hard to find enough people. Not to find enough, okay, that makes me sound really lonely. I obviously, like, I have a lot of friends, but it was really hard trying to actually find enough people that could really commit. The only family that I had there was my parents, and we had some people from our church come, and my boy Austin, my boy Steven, Jacob, and Emma. Y'all were super dope for coming up there, and it was really cool that y'all wanted to support me. Yeah, it was a really big responsibility. I feel like, I don't know, I'm 6'4", I'm 200 pounds. I'm a big dude, okay? I don't feel like it, but I'm a big dude. Now, mentally, I'm a 12-year-old. Literally, I'm a 12-year-old inside of a man's body. And it is, I'm a very sheltered guy. I've lived at home, my entire life, and this major responsibility really dropped on me all at once, and I really matured a lot through it, and I really learned a lot about kind of real life and how it all works and everything that goes into it. Yeah, it was a hard month, but it was well worth it. It's like late March 24th or 25th or something, that we ended up going to Atlanta. That was where they were filming it, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it was intimidating, especially being in the city. Everybody looks like they want to mug you on the sidewalk. Everyone looks really sketchy. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah. So we ended up going to Atlanta, late March, and the first day of filming, so the qualifiers were scheduled to run on, I think it was Sunday night, because they film at night. And I actually had the honor of, it was about, I don't know how many people got to go, but it was a select group of people, and they called us in a day early on Saturday. And it is where they did special filming for us. We did B-roll shots, we did hero shots. So that's where you're on a swivel, and you got you know, you do like a little pose and everything. That's like a lot of the in-between shots that they have in the show, because they're kind of expecting you to do well enough to, you know, already be in that position. And we also had a really good interview, and Sunday came. That Sunday afternoon was kind of like a blur. All my friends finally like drove in for the day. We were all hanging out, and because, you know, the time we all run is at night. We had to be there, like everyone had to be there. And so, you know, you're waiting for hours and hours, and just, you know, in your head, and it's very, you need to be really mentally strong to be able to do it. One thing I will say about the actual course itself is it was not intimidating at all. The course was very small. You know, you see it on TV and it's just like massive structure. It has all, they make it look really like cinematically good, but it was tiny. I mean, it wasn't at all like I was picturing it to be. And especially, you know, going up there running it myself, there really wasn't anything to it. And, you know, of course, you know, right, I didn't make it. I fell on the third obstacle, like, oh. And, you know, I say there's nothing to it. There's nothing to it if you were to have it in your backyard and ran it after lunch when you were well rested. Like, that's what I mean when there's nothing to it. What really gets to you is, especially if you're not used to it, is the exhaustion of being up all night. You know, if you're not used to being a night owl, it's pretty rough. You know, your body's tired. Your body's like, what am I doing? Why am I up? Why am I awake? I'm in a weird place, and it's really weird. So you have that stress from having to stay up. You have the pressure from obviously how big of a show this is. And, you know, another thing, when you run the course, you know, they got to make you look good, right? And this didn't really affect me too much, as a lot of people were telling me it would, but I can still, I can still say it was something you have to really focus to not let get in your head, is the lighting. Is, you know, they make sure to shine these really bright lights on you to make you look good for the TV, right? Because, you know, it needs to be crystal clear. Well, you know, sometimes at certain spots, you know, there is a little bit of glare from those lights, and you're not really able to see clearly where you're going. It didn't really affect me at all. I didn't really notice it. I met all the famous people, everyone you see on TV for the most part. They're really normal. It was a lot different from the Atlanta crowd. If you just walk in the streets of Atlanta and then look at all the competitors, like, it's literally like night and day. And let's see, the ninja holding area was incredibly small. Was not what I was expecting. You need to remember, we all brought our chairs, our mattresses, we came in there fully loaded to, you know, like, stay the night and not, you know, we were there to stay. And so everyone's stuff trying to fit into there, and then everyone having room to put their chairs up or just everything. It was a very tight squeeze. If you were claustrophobic, you wouldn't have been able to do it. It was still really good, just because, you know, you got to hang out with all the ninjas, so that made it. But the actual run itself, you know, I got up there, you know, they called me about 5 to 10 minutes before I was running. They were like, hey, you know, contestant, blah, 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 you have 2 more people till you go. And then it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm going. I didn't really have any nerves going on. I wasn't nervous at all. I think it was just all happening so fast. I didn't really, you know, I didn't take it as like it was a big deal. Yeah, I had Dusty there, my friend Dustin McKinney. He's such a beast, such a great guy. He was there with me the whole way. He was there in the ninja holding area, just kind of hanging out with all the other ninjas. He was able to give me a lot of pep talk before it. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, I felt really solid with my plan. So I think we had like 6 obstacles on the qualifying course. And of those obstacles, the only one I really felt kind of like nervous about was the spider wall, just because you had to jump on a trampoline off of the spider wall. So like you're here on the spider wall and you jump on a trampoline and then jump up and bear hug these logs. It just looked like a complicated maneuver. But that was not the obstacle I should have been worried about. So my main thing was, you know, I wasn't going to be upset if I fell. I had already established that, you know, going into it. Like, I knew that Ninja Warrior was not this obsession of mine. I knew Ninja Warrior was just something cool to do. And, you know, I sent in a video just because I like making videos, and I just happened to get on. So there was nothing special about it. And I knew that, you know, if I fell, I wasn't gonna like be depressed or something. But the only thing I knew I would be depressed with is if I fell on the first obstacle. So that was my main concern, and I did not do that, so give me a little pat on the back there. Yeah, I did the first obstacle fine. Second obstacle was like incredibly easy. Easiest thing. I mean, I finished it, I even looked back at it, and I was like it was so easy. And then the obstacle that I was the most confident with, the rolling cubes or the rolling blocks or something like that. I don't even care enough about them to remember their stinking name. But what it is 7 or 8 squares in a line on a rotating beam. Okay, so and you have to step on the squares, and when you put pressure on the squares tilt. So yeah, I'm a pretty big dude, and when I stepped on those squares, they really spun. So my fatal error, my friend Dustin McKinney, well, he told me this rule. He said, hey Eric, when you do the squares, do not run too fast at them, and do not skip any. You should need to hit each square successively, and then you'll complete it, and it'll be easy. You know what I said? I said, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, and I'm gonna do that. And I went into that obstacle, into the squares, and with the same mentality. I had this exact same mentality. And I told myself, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, Eric, don't run too fast at it, and hit each square successfully. And that's what my plan was. Well, I had a lot of adrenaline going, and that adrenaline made me run really fast. I ran really fast. And I just bolted on the starting platform to that obstacle, and I hit that first square with an incredible amount of momentum that I should not have had. And so I hit that first square. That half a second that my foot was on that first square, that square did not budge, like at all. That square was incredibly solid. It didn't even feel like it spun. And I didn't even think to change my plan. My body instinctively did this. My body instinctively, because of my long legs, these stupid legs, it instinctively lunged out and skipped like 2 squares. And so now I'm doing the exact thing Dustin told me not to do. And I lunge out 2 squares, and I hit one of the tiny squares with so much downward momentum that when my foot hits the square, it just completely spins it. I do a flip and just head plant into the water, and the world went slow-mo when that happened. It was terrible. My foot hit the square, and I felt it slipping off, and I remember thinking, wow, can't believe I'm going out on this obstacle. Wow, I thought I was gonna win it all. Then I got out of the water. I had to keep a smile on my face because I knew all the cameras were on me. I had to go where they took me. I had to say an interview in front of the camera. You know, as I'm walking away, as I'm doing the walk of shame, I had to say how much of an amazing experience I had. I had to say how much fun it was just to come out there and do the obstacles. And it was, it was crazy. It was like I turned my emotions off for that night. You know, I dried off with my defeat towel that they gave me, put my shoes on, left. I just sat in my truck, and I literally just looked at my steering wheel for like 30 minutes. That was my Ninja Warrior experience. Thanks for watching, guys. Now, yeah, that was what it was like after running the course. It hit me hard at first, but coming out of it, getting home, seeing how much everyone still loved me, and being able to look back on it, oh man, it was just, I gained so much wisdom from this. like really, I really gained so much wisdom from this, and I was just so thankful to even be on it. You know, with the 50 to 70,000 in that area of people that submit videos each year. There's only like 600 that get picked, and I was one of those, and I'm very proud of that. And looking at it now, I mean, like obviously like that first couple of weeks coming off of it was like always constantly in my mind, and it's still in my mind now. And I can understand why some people like get really depressed when they do terrible on the show, but looking back at it now, like I get really excited because I think that was a time that God really used something to grow me as an individual, and I feel like I gained much more at failing. I feel like I learned much more about myself and about everything at failing at Ninja Warrior than if I would have succeeded, and it makes me happy. It makes me happy. And so that's my first video. Not my first video, but this is my first video where I'm really trying to be professional, and I want to take this YouTube channel thing pretty seriously for a couple months, and I just want to see what happens because I really like doing things like this. So I think that about does it for me. I'll have to come out with an outro later on. Y'all can leave me a suggestion in the comments. I don't really know. I'll have to figure it out, but for now, peace out, and appreciate y'all listening to me.